Extreme poverty in Grenada is about 14% of the population. Inequality is a problem in terms of income disparity. Gender disparity is evident. We continue to work to address that inequality by introducing a number of training opportunities where women can earn more. We're working with them to let them see and understand that they have the ability, they can earn, they can do well, and they can become more economically sound.
Hi, welcome back to our podcast, The Zero Hunger Project. I'm your host, Suman,
I'm Stacia.
and today we have Miss Gloria Ann Thomas all the way from Grenada. Could you tell us more about Gloria?
It's my privilege to welcome Senator the Honorable Gloria Ann Thomas, who's the Minister for Social and Community Development, Housing, and Gender Affairs for the Government of Grenada. She's a veteran social worker and gender specialist with over 45 years of dedicated service to her country. As Minister for Social and Community Development, Housing, and Gender Affairs, she's widely respected for her leadership in social protection, gender equality, and community empowerment. A longstanding advocate for women, girls, and vulnerable populations, the senator has shaped key gender responsive policies, strengthened community support systems, and advanced programs focused on equity, dignity, and social justice. Her work spans gender based violence prevention, community mobilization, leadership development, and social protection partnerships across Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Minister Thomas holds a master's in counseling psychology, an MBA in project management, and a bachelor's in social work. Her outstanding contributions have earned multiple national and international awards. Appointed to the Senate in 2022, she continues to champion people-centered development and inclusive national progress. We're very pleased to have you today. Thank you for joining us.
That's amazing, Senator. There is so much that you have done, and but I wanted to get to the bottom of food security. Grenada, we know as a island of spices, and it's famous for its food and spice. How is the poverty and the food security on the island currently?
Thank you for having me on this program, and I am happy to be able to share some of the issues that surround food security on the island. For us here in Grenada, food security is of high importance as we work towards our food security initiative. We're working towards the sustainable development goal that speaks to zero hunger. And so we are steadfast in this regard. As it stands, Grenada imports about 60 to 80% of its food, and that is not good. This is making it highly vulnerable to global supply chain disruption and price shocks. So when we have things out there happening like wars and so on, our food security is threatened. Climate change and natural disasters, just like Hurricane Beryl, which according to 2024 caused damages equal to about 16.5% of our GDP. And that put further strain on our food system, increasing reliance on emergency support for effective households. So because of the Hurricane Beryl, we were not able to provide or supply food for for our generation. So initiatives like the Food Security Enhancement Project and the Reliance Caribbean Initiative aim to reduce import dependency through crop diversification, livestock breeding, and aquatic development. So poverty levels around Grenada is about 25%. So we have 25% of Grenadians live below the national poverty line, a figure that has remained relatively unchanged for over a decade. So this is concerning. So although a number of interventions have been made, we still are at that place and we're not happy about it. Extreme poverty in Grenada is about 14% of the population. So these members of the population live on less than $6.68 per day. And this is according to the World Bank report. So inequality is a problem in terms of income disparity. And this is the situation that is evident here in Grenada. So all these factors we must address as we try to move towards zero hunger.
Senator, what's the population of Grenada?
Our population is 117,000 people. Small population. Is a small island, tri-island state in the Caribbean.
Small but mighty.
We measure only 133 square miles.
Okay. And do you produce your own food in Grenada? What are the
Only
crops?
30%.
Only 30%. But what are the crops?
Well, we have vegetables, we have root crops, and we also have tree crops.
Now, spices are a big part of Grenada. Is that not right?
Yes, spices is a big part, but spices is mainly for exports. We don't really eat spice. We use spice to add condiments to food and to increase flavor and to make everything nice.
Better.
So
Make everything better.
exactly. So how much percentage of GDP is coming from the spice export? Do you have that?
Can't say offhand.
Okay. But it's a big chunk, I would say, for exports as spices.
Yes, in spices we have the nutmeg and the mace.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I wanted to ask you, as the minister responsible for social development and gender affairs, and you've been working on those portfolios for a long time in your career, how do gender dynamics influence hunger, nutrition, and access to resources in Grenada?
Well, the whole question of gender disparity is evident. We continue to work to address that inequality. For one, women do most of the caring work, looking after family, looking after children, caring for loved ones, elder parents, and so on. And there is no return economically for those types of engagement. So that places women in a disadvantaged position. In addition, most of the jobs that pay more are the ones that are done by men. So women again are at a disadvantage when it comes to income. So we have women doing things like cleaning, being clerk, being cooks, and so on. And then men, on the other hand, do the traditional jobs like the carpentry, the painting, the electrical installation, the refrigeration, all the jobs that pay much more on the island. So this gender inequality continue to plague our women and leave them behind economically. We have tried to address this disparity by introducing a number of training opportunities where women can earn more. But these programs have not met with great success because our women are still at a place where they believe that these jobs are for the male. So they may start the program and they may drop out. Sometimes when we advertise the program, we have low interest in those areas. For some of the women who continue and they complete the program, at the end of the program, they don't have the confidence to step forward and to embrace a job in that area. So this is one of the problem we have, the mindset of our women, and we're working to empower them. We're working with them to let them see and understand that they have the ability, they can earn, they can do well, and they can become more economically sound.
I'm curious to know how much influence there is in gender studies at the school level in the education of young girls, and trying to it's much harder to change the mind of a woman who's been around for a while, who's been alive for many years, and who understands sort of how things work, who've been possibly entrenched in antiquated gender roles. But are there programs in Grenada where you have been going after young girls that are still in school and trying to change their minds and introduce new mindsets at a young age?
Of course, we have at the primary school and the secondary school, we introduced the TVET program where we expose all students to technical and vocational training. So we have girls doing technical drawing, building technology, ICT, and all of those current technical jobs, not jobs, sorry, subjects that can take them through to getting the technical jobs where they will be able to earn.
That's good. That's
That's
exciting.
fantastic.
Mhm.
So, Senator, you have mentioned earlier today that for the last decade, the poverty rate has not changed in Grenada, uh, in spite of doing so many different interventions. Why do you think that is the case, and what is the solution?
Well, as I mentioned also, I think it's the mindset. I think it's mindset. One is one. And another problem too, I think the opportunity for women are less than the opportunity for men. That is why we're trying to engage the grown women, and we also took on the um, the initiative. We took the initiative to start working in the primary schools and the secondary schools. We trust that through these programs, girls, young women will make a difference as they age in terms of the reduction of poverty.
What are some of the community initiatives that you can think of that are working sort of hand in hand with government programs? What are the communities doing themselves to, or nonprofits or other programs that are not governmental? Can you speak to some of those?
Yes, well, we have a number of non-profit organizations, CBOs, engaging women and doing for women. I can recall like Lions Club of St. Andrew and Lions Club of St. George's as well. We also have the National Women's Organization, Grenada National Women's Organization, GNO, who is also empowering women, training them in non-traditional areas, along with what we're doing as a ministry.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
Now, keeping in mind the food security side of it, the poverty reduction side of it, you mentioned a few interventions that the government is working on. Um, what is the future? What do you think is going to happen with the poverty reduction and food security in 20 years from now in Grenada?
Well, 20 years from now, we should be at a much better place. because currently a number of new initiatives have been introduced. This current government came into power in June 2022,
Mm.
and this government campaign and is working on a transformation agenda.
Mhm.
So, for example, a lot of emphasis and a lot of planning has been placed in agriculture, the
Mhm.
Ministry of Agriculture, who work closely with us in terms of ensuring that the food security on the island is improved.
Mhm.
In January, for example, 466 small ruminants were imported for breeding. So these animals was just brought in to breed and to increase the stock before we disseminate, before we share them out.
Interesting.
We also imported some pineapple plants,
Mhm.
coconuts, and other root crops for planting to increase domestic production. Because after the hurricane, we lost most of our crops, the coconuts and so on.
Mm.
So we have imported a number of pineapple, coconuts, and other root crops. We have a fan machinery pool where farmers could come in and rent heavy equipment
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
to improve their work on the farm to ensure that yields can increase. We have that program where young chicks, 1 day old chicks, were given to poultry farmers to give them a start. So these are some of the things we have been doing recently. Seeds was distributed to hundreds of farmers and community people so they can do the backyard garden.
Wow.
We also distributed irrigation equipment to hundreds of farmers. And farmers have been trained in climate smart agricultural practices to mitigate against hurricane,
Mhm.
heavy rainfall, and drought, which are very prevalent these days.
Mhm.
Yes.
So, a number of initiatives have been taken to ensure that in the near future, the poverty rate reduces and we are closer to our zero hungry goal.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's fantastic, and it's kind of really very refreshing to see that your current government, though it's just a couple of years, is focusing a lot of on resilience, which is absolutely fantastic to see. And I think that is very important, especially in small island nations, especially with climate change. Resilience is very important.
Mhm. Is there fishing in Grenada? Do you have a lot of fisheries?
Yes, we have some fisheries, and it is part of our income too. And we working with fisher folks to ensure that they could go out there safely and increase their take. But we are threatened by the US because most of our fish that we ship to them, that they are threatening that they want to stop that trade.
I think that's a common
Everybody's
story
being
everywhere,
threatened by the US right now, unfortunately.
especially when it comes to trade, import, and export.
Mhm.
So, if that happens, what does that mean for your economy?
Well, we have to look at new markets, and we start doing that already. Looking for new places where we can trade, and we're looking also probably of processing some of our fish so that we'll not experience spoilage when the fishermen go out there.
That's so smart.
And what about tourism? What role does tourism play in Grenada's economy?
Well, tourism is one of the main pillars of the economy.
Hmm.
Although they say 70% of every dollar that is spent here is go back to bringing in food and other things for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still is an income for us.
Hmm.
We look forward to it. Grenada is a lovely country, really picturesque. So people like coming here. We have lovely beaches, and the sunshine, and the crime rate here is low.
Nice.
I was about to say that.
So Grenada is a favorable destination for tourism.
It's a pretty safe country.
Hmm.
Uh, that's fantastic. So, um, Senator, if there is one message, because our podcast, we have a lot of different government officials, ambassadors, ministers, and our podcast is shared around the world. Now, if there is one message from Grenada that you want to give to the world, what would that be?
A message in terms of food security.
Terms
Just
like Grenada's open for business. Like what kind of message would you send out to the world about how Grenada is doing and where you're looking for in the future?
Well, for me, I would say Grenada is a safe place to be. Grenada is a safe place to do business. And Grenada is a safe place to visit and live in.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you're really being proactive in addressing the gender disparity in Grenada. And I like how you're going at it on several different fronts at several different levels and starting from the very beginning and having a lot of programs that will really help people change the course of their lives and the lives of their families. It's a really impressive initiative.
Yes, we are very much committed to this cause.
That's really good. It's really important. Um, I usually ask our guests at the end of their podcast two questions. The first is, is there a program that you haven't spoken about yet that you'd like to highlight? Is there something happening in Grenada that you'd like to talk about that we didn't address? And also, my last question usually is, what is your best case scenario, pie in the sky, best case scenario for Grenada moving forward?
Well, best place scenario for Grenada moving forward. I want to see Grenada a place where it is free from gender based violence. Every woman could hold a place in society, along the men, earning as them, working as them, and feeling equal to them.
Listen, I think
that's fantastic.
I think there's all kinds of places all over the world that need to be working on that too. So
I
that's
think
an
there's a pie in
incredible
the sky
goal.
for almost every country. It should
Absolutely, I
be.
totally agree. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And is there anything that we haven't talked about that Grenada is doing that you would like to highlight?
We've been doing so much. Okay.
It's good though. I mean, for an island that has
Well,
like
what
a
I know, we have established a safe place for women
Mhm.
if they are abused, if they are attacked by their partner. We have what we call the Cedars Home, where we keep them for a period of time. And if after their time come to return, the home is not safe, we find a home for them. We provide a house for them.
That's amazing.
What are the domestic violence rates like in Grenada? Is that a big problem?
No, it's not a big problem, but 1% is even too much.
Yep, absolutely.
Love
Yep.
it. Love
Yep.
it. Love it.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So, Senator, thank you so much for your time. I
Yeah.
thought we learned a lot about Grenada from you. I knew Grenada, and this is a secret probably, but I'm going to spell it out. Almost 20 years ago, I was this close to moving to Grenada.
Okay, I did not know that.
And
Ah,
it was one of the resorts that offered me a position. At that time, I was a chef by trade, and I was this close to moving there. So I know Grenada and I love it.
It's not too late.
It's not too late.
It's not too late.
We're just going to wrap this up and then we're going to get on an airplane because I do know
Yes.
that Grenada is a beautiful
It's
place.
beautiful.
Everybody
Yes,
that I've
it
ever
is.
spoken to who has visited there has
And I
really
love
enjoyed
that
it.
how safety and gender equity is in the forefront.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
fantastic.
so important.
Yeah,
So thank you
absolutely.
so much for your time. We really, really appreciate you coming in, chatting with us, and sharing what Grenada is doing and the future. The beautiful island of Grenada.
This is another one of these benefits that I've been talking about doing this podcast is that that is the most I've ever talked about Grenada in the history of my life. And I didn't know some of the things that she talked about. I didn't realize it was such a small country.
I didn't know how safe it is.
Yeah. And like deeply committed to gender equity, which I'm
Which is-
very into, particularly in the Caribbean. That's
It's a culture thing,
it's a
right?
culture thing and it's a problem.
To fight that,
Hmm.
and I think that's brilliant. But
Yeah.
also, what was really striking about this conversation to me is as a federal minister
Mhm.
and a senator,
Mhm.
they realize that their poverty rate is not changing for decades.
Right.
They're trying, they have no shortage of programs from
Mhm.
what we heard,
Mhm.
but it's the mindset that's preventing
Yeah, it's really
the
hard.
development.
And I mean, that's the thing that is the most difficult when you're coming at these different sort of ideas of social justice and this type of stuff is that you really have to break the mindset that this is the way that things have always been done, therefore it's the way they should continue to be done. And women in particular get inculcated into thinking
Yeah.
that they need to be in a particular gender role. And the hope is as we continue on and the world changes that we can change that. But in some places, they're really entrenched
Exactly.
in really sort of, and they're patriarchal societies and everything. They might have social programs on a meta level that are trying to change that. But the day-to-day life of people in certain
Absolutely.
places is really entrenched in these really outdated gender norms. And it's impossible in some cases to break through them.
Exactly. And I think their job is the countries like Grenada, the government's job is even harder
Yeah.
because not only they are combating the external issues,
Yeah.
but the whole internal mindset issue,
Yeah.
which is it's a tough one.
And they're a country with limited resources, right? So they can't, it's not like they're getting whole buckets of money coming in, like she said. With tourism is one of their major uh, means of generating income, but they spend 70% of the money that comes in on tourism
feed them.
on maintaining the tourists.
Exactly.
So that means that 30% is so precious and it must need to get divvied out around
100%. And
different needs.
like exactly. And with especially all small island nations
Mhm,
now,
mhm,
with the climate shocks,
mhm.
one of those happen and it drains them of their
Well, yes,
any
that.
resource.
And also she mentioned the fact that they're having trade trouble with the United States along with everybody else. And that's
Join the club.
right? But join the club, except they're an island nation of 100,000 people. So like,
Yep.
join the club. We're in
That's
Canada.
huge.
We do the whole elbows out, no problem.
And we can.
And we can and
they are
have
not
and will
able to.
continue. They are not able to. And so they're susceptible to a lot of things in these smaller countries where they don't have the same kind of resources that a lot of other countries do. They're susceptible to very location specific problems.
And I think that is where countries like Canada and countries like Western Europe and whoever is able to
Mhm.
needs to really look into and support these
Yeah.
small island nations
Mhm.
when they are going through turmoil in geopolitical world.
Mhm.
So I think that is important as we do this.
And I think that that's the kind of investment that wouldn't take a lot of money to have a massive impact.
No, I'm talking directly to Global GAC,
Yeah.
Global Affairs Canada.
Yeah.
Like this is the kind of conversations we need to have.
Yeah.
And see how we can actually support countries like this who are trying to do a good job.
Mhm.
But because of geopolitical tensions, there are issues and holding them back.
Right.
How can progressive countries like us, like in Canada, go and take a step and help them?
And how about maybe if we're not writing them a check, which is fine, we come up with other initiatives that are maybe NGOs or something that the government can support
Absolutely.
in sending them over there.
Maybe we can buy some of their spices, more of their spices, and more of their
Something,
seafood.
yeah.
It's not only just a check to write,
No.
but they want to sell their stuff.
And
They
they
want
wanna
to
be
export. Let's
sustainable, yeah.
buy it
Yeah.
and figure out how we can work together. And I'm sure Canada does.
Yeah.
I don't know that information, but I'm sure, knowing Canada, I'm sure we have a relationship with Grenada
Mhm.
strong. However, let's make it better. Let other countries who doesn't or is considering, let's help these countries because they need it.
Mhm.
They're
And
doing a
they're
great
and they're
job.
trying.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
doing a great job.
Yeah.
This was another fantastic
Yeah,
conversation.
so interesting.
I could have talked to her for much longer, and maybe my next trip is great. I
There
don't
you
know.
go.
I
There
keep
you go.
saying that. Yeah.
Every time you talk about a different country, though, then you say that's the
Can
place you're going.
somebody sponsor my flight tickets, please?
Why doesn't somebody sponsor the
Please,
podcast?
please. Exactly.
We could get
100%. And
we
can
need-
you imagine if we can go and film in these countries and actually put our hands in? I can dream. Come on.
Yeah.
There's no tax in dreaming. I'm going to dream because that makes my life even more interesting.
Okay, very good.
So I will keep dreaming. But thank you so much for joining. If you're not following us, the Zero Hunger Project, please follow us and look out for more episodes, and see you next week.
Thanks very much.